Hi, I am Brent Feldman of Mix and Matchbox, and we are back with another episode. Today, I am joined by the founder of ClickScore, Derek Mabie. Hi, Derek. How's it
Hey,
going?
how's it going? Great. How's it going?
Definitely really good. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess a shout out to Amber, a mutual friend, acquaintance, and employee of ours,
Yeah.
helped us get connected here. So, um,
hmm
I'll jump right in. The first one's fairly straightforward, but you're currently developing a new product called ClickScore. But how did you get into this field in general?
Yeah. Great question. Previously, I had owned and started a digital marketing search agency. But my digital story really goes back to the early days of music on the internet and trying to be a professional musician and a touring musician and leveraging the pure volumes and MySpaces of the world to grow in popularity. That actually was my introduction to digital marketing. And shortly after that, I got a real job, as they say, at a agency in Kansas City that was a travel and hospitality agency. And at that time, all of that industry was moving its dollars to digital. It was really that first major digital migration of investments because these businesses could track from Google Click to Urchin Analytics to their e-com checkout, right? Their reservation system, and they could see that straight line to ROI. So um, I sort of grew up in these burgeoning industries, right? Like right as that major digital migration was happening, and have kind of been in love with it ever since. Fascinated by it for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. And definitely when you said Urchin Analytics, that right there, man.
Makes me an OG. Makes me an OG.
Exactly. I know that means you know. If you know, you know. Uh, but that's super cool, and definitely it's really neat to see that form, and like kind of a neat pathway to get in there. And boy, digital music, that was certainly something that has kind of evolved as well too. Uh,
Yeah, incredible, right?
yeah, definitely. Well, cool. And then what was the inspiration or what drove you to create the ClickScore product?
So I sold my agency about 3 years ago, and in the process of um, trying to identify a post agency life, I started helping some companies and investing in some companies spinning up .coms um, to sell direct to consumers, some sort of consumer packaged good or um, different industry products. Excuse me, different products, different industries, and um, going through that process of picking out the tech stack of what ecom to use and finding the right agency for design and branding and driving traffic to the site. It was a really cumbersome, disappointing experience to be on that side of the table after, I don't know, almost 15 years of representing the agency side of the table. It was a really disappointing experience. Not that we didn't talk to smart people or find good organizations eventually, but it was quite a road to haul. And I just couldn't believe that the RFP process was so incredibly archaic still, right? And the way that we do it is such a um, pen and paper way, you know. You might as well be sending these things over the fax. So I felt like, with my experience in search, that there was an opportunity to do something about that. And I had been toying around with this idea of ClickScore for some time, which is essentially providing a credit score for your Google ads for your digital media. And throughout this process of building and starting these other companies, it made me realize that, look, search is pretty quantifiable, digital media is pretty quantifiable, and there is a way to score this out, and there's a way to transparently provide the information, like how many accounts are managed, or what's the total budget being managed, or even just how efficiently or frequently you're making changes. And so I thought, if we could use that transparent, quantifiable data, and we could create a pretty simple user interface for the brands to leverage, we can create some transparency and eliminate that RFP process as it exists today. And so it really was the emergence of running an agency and always thinking about ways to build better campaigns and to provide the most value for the client, mashed up with what the brands really need in terms of simplicity, easy to buy, verified trust, value creation, all of those things that, I think can be really simple and a benefit to all parties.
Definitely. That's cool. And it's neat to have that kind of marketplace because while I can think of, maybe a billion resources that essentially have, ratings and reviews and okay, here's some testimonials, you get an idea of maybe who these agencies are, but there's nothing to really add credibility to what they did,
Yeah.
what that meant. So that's super fascinating. Of that's, kind of the genesis of it. And as far as feeling for the client on the other side of the table, generally, as I'm speaking to clients, I'm like, I feel for you because nothing looks the same. Nothing's priced the same. All the deliverables are usually listed in a different way. And so like, I know, I respect that, that kind of, feeling or that empathy for the client because, it's got to be a rough decision, trying to just,
Sure.
who do I match up with personality wise,
Right.
as well as making sure I'm going to get the best, bang for the buck in terms of, return on investment. So it's a challenging thing, and that's cool that you're.
And no agency really wants to spend time doing this either.
True.
It's we all just wanted to be able to say, hey, are we good enough or not good enough? Have we
Exactly.
earned your business or not earned your business? And so I think that creating a bit more of a playing field with visible meritocracy, right? Like providing that meritocracy, and giving that relationship that opportunity to be based more on performance than historically it's been able to be based on.
Definitely. I think it's really good to push in a direction of doing it in a different way because everybody is, as you're kind of saying, you're used to the song and dance, this is what you do, but at the same time, nobody likes it. Nobody's a fan of it.
No, that's right.
On either side of the table, really. Cool.
That's right.
Well, what do you think will be important to customers and the marketplace as a whole, as they dig through these? Like, definitely it's going to be obviously the agency's, ability to perform, but are there any other sort of details to like, what will be important to either side?
I think we have some strong beliefs and unfortunately some assumptions as we try to put this out in front of a small group of users right now. But I think what really will be valuable that we're trying to provide is a simple way to stay connected with how the account is being managed, and what sort of value is being created through the management, and then what opportunities can you align how the campaign is managed with the most efficient way to buy the media and best serve your business goals and business outcomes. But we are going to pursue connecting this tool and putting this tool in the hands of really capable media buyers, really capable Google experts. And what I'm excited to see is how leveraging a score and proof of expertise, how that allows people from all over this globe to step into high performing opportunities and to work with brands that maybe otherwise wouldn't find this sort of talent and match with this sort of talent. And I'm hoping that that creates a real win for both sides of the economy.
That's really cool. That's neat. Yeah, because like we've discovered people all across the world that are incredibly talented, and as
For
actually
sure.
as of recently attended the Web Summit in Portugal and got introduced to all these maybe vendors and companies that I may not have come in contact with,
Right.
but also providing a platform that could be able to make those introductions and
Hmm.
give them a little credibility off the bat is really neat.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I think that that's one of the advantages that we have here within this space is that we can put some sort of score on this and we can quantify this. So your ability to look at someone that maybe has a unique skill set in the industry that makes them effective at running small business shopping ads for small e-coms, right? And we'll be able to over time put that data together and offer those best performers to these SMBs with these maybe limited scope budgets for these really specific niche things. And that's different than going and trying to find somebody in, a different time zone or a different country when you're talking about maybe branding or design,
Mhm.
right? Where it does become much more subjective and maybe there's um, different ways to evaluate this. But I think for what we're doing and the services we want to provide and the answers we want to provide, I think it is pretty quantifiable.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because you're kind of like removing the emotion out of those decisions, and there is something extremely uh, for the lack of a better word, just transactional, literally, about,
Hmm.
like, oh, this person can run a campaign really well. It, like you mentioned, it may not be about, oh, the design, qualities that they're able to bring to the table,
Yeah,
whatever, but it's really literally about the fact that no, they're just really good at making a campaign perform super well.
that's interesting. I don't know that I've specifically thought about it like that, but you're right. It's almost like the general acceptance is this is a very math science sort of field,
Hmm.
right? But in another way, it's almost looked at like um, an engineering feat where it's sort of mechanic slash engineer,
Hmm.
right? And so you bring your car to the person that you think is the best mechanic to fix it, and you kind of don't care how they talk to you or treat you, as long as you get that very sacred car back and
Hmm.
it drives the way that you hope it drives, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that is true that when you talk about buying digital media and most specifically on in Google, it really is viewed as that sort of almost, dare I say, like blue collar mentality, right? I
Hmm.
don't know if that's PC anymore, but it is interesting. So that same emotional side and connection that you need with design and brand, I don't know that it is there.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Might have to pull that into the marketing. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's it is. It's just it's a fascinating way and a new way of looking at things. So that's cool. Well, you've been in the search field for so long. You've seen a lot,
Hmm.
as you mentioned. Kind of like
Yeah.
some of that big first digital migration. Um, I think, like, do you have any sort of ideas on, where search is going?
Mm,
I definitely, I
yeah.
just got to hear from a Google rep the other day who was telling me all about these like additions and like, nice things they're tossing into
Yeah.
ad stuff. But do you have any sort of prognostications that may make your tool even more important in the future?
Boy, thanks for teeing that one up. Um, So first, I think the amount of changes that have been rolled out in the last 6 to 12 months is probably the most accelerated I've ever seen. Maybe there's a couple periods of time that I can't recall, and it's a little bit of recency bias. But boy, oh boy, in 12 months they've changed things pretty dramatically. And most notably, and what is I think a trending topic now, is the push towards PMAX. And what I think you're seeing Google do is, and it's why I think we're seeing a lot of the tech challenges, the rate of growth per user is slowed dramatically, right, over the heydays. And so now the focus of the company has to be about totally maximizing the value per user. And what Google has done a phenomenal job of, obviously, is leveraging that auction-based model in their advertising to drive out as much gross margin as possible within these industries, these products, these services. Well, when you sort of reach the max amount of users to a large degree, and you have 95 or 90% penetration of an entire market, and you've successfully infiltrated the entire service and product industry and have them buying ads, you really have to find other places to go make money. You have to find other products to sell to your customers. And so for Google, their primary customer are the businesses, right? That's who they sell their services to. So maybe they're not the primary customer, but it's who they make their money from, by and large, right? Is the businesses. So they have to go to those businesses and offer new products. Now, what I think is happening with a lot of these new products is they're actually pulling the advertiser all the way back to like 1965, where there was a big scorecard and you were picking out magazines and TV shows and radio stations based on age and gender, or, you know, all of these different demographic profiles and some psych profiles. And that's how you were making your media purchasing decision. Now, within that, you've got a lot of not targeted audiences. And I think that that's what we're seeing happening today, is that in order to get the good stuff, you have to be willing to buy this not so good stuff or slightly less relevant stuff. Or in some cases, maybe really totally irrelevant stuff. So it means two things. You have to become incredibly adaptive and find new ways to eliminate waste, or you have to be willing to, and really, not or, but and really, and you have to be willing to buy the most efficient means possible. So build your campaigns, build your messaging, and build your digital experience to create the most efficient means of buying the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that has become abundantly clear from all of the major digital advertisers, they are not going to let you get free traffic. The days of getting it, especially in product, anything that can be sold direct to consumer, services, products, in those high competitive industries, Google's not giving you free traffic anymore. Facebook's not giving you free traffic anymore. Yeah, maybe if you have the following in some of these channels, you can drive a bit more free traffic, but it's becoming so incredibly difficult, right? So creating that targeting to messaging to digital experience in the most efficient means possible, creating that efficient buy, is almost or as critical as figuring out how to eliminate that waste along the way.
Yeah. That's that is so true. It's crazy how it seems on cross platform there's so many the conduits have gotten narrower in order to like get people to your business, your site, your product. And and as you mentioned, like through even social potentially, as
Hmm.
now people with large followings may have that organic reach, but that means you're then going through an influencer to try to you're gonna pay somebody at the end of the day to get that sort of like
Hmm.
visibility or that organic reach. And obviously Google has closed off a lot of that organic reach just by
Hmm.
all the things you were mentioning, that you're going to basically end up paying for that traffic as they crowd out those organic listings with
Hmm.
like, more and more information, whether it's like, the map pack or, results. And actually the thing that I heard from the Google rep the other day is that they're going to start leveraging display in instant search. And
Yeah.
oh, isn't that wonderful? So that,
Hmm.
nobody even reaches a SERP page before they could jump off, and potentially get served something. So it's just, I think the points you're bringing up do make it incredibly more relevant of thinking very strategically about how you can be efficient, because if you're not,
Hmm.
the amount of waste is going to continue to go up. You're going to be
Hmm.
pitched more and more products and services that obviously cater to Google's wants, needs,
Hmm.
desires, things that are underpinning their business model, but not
Hmm.
necessarily something that is exactly doing the best of what it could for your business, depending on the use case. Now, that's not to say those things are irrelevant necessarily. It's just
Right.
to say that, yeah, what, to reiterate what you said, spending efficiently is critical. So,
Yeah. 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 And listen, let's work under the assumption that all the products that these companies are putting together, they have the best of intentions. Even with that, the products that they're bringing to market are not becoming more narrowly focused. They are becoming wider net products, right?
mhm,
Wider audiences, less specificity,
mhm,
less control of management. And so even if it is under the best intentions, creates new marketing task to respond to that, to still be able to maintain that value that you historically have achieved.
yep, absolutely. Well, cool. I think I'll just, I'll dig in a little bit deeper on, what ClickScore is, because and if you can at a high level,
Yeah.
maybe obviously I'm sure there's, a lot of interesting, sort of things underpinning the technology that you've developed, but
Mhm.
what sort of factors is ClickScore taking into account? And yeah, what sort of detail can you give on that?
Yeah, I think the best way to try and describe what we're doing is helping those who are responsible for signing the checks for the media, the people that are creating the budget and handing the budget over. um, it's giving them an understanding of what they're paying, what the average market rate is, and what the likely lowest amount they could pay for it if they were completely efficient. So scaling those things out and delivering it in a credit score like metric, so you sort of can simply gauge how efficiently with a familiar analog. Um, that's what we're trying to communicate and what we're hoping to achieve.
Cool. Um, Are there any big lessons that you feel like you've learned along the way? You've had an agency and,
Hmm.
a successful one that you sold, which is awesome. It's great. That's,
Thanks.
definitely like a really, a good achievement for anybody who's running an agency or a business in general. But, is there anything that you've learned now that you're, as you mentioned, you were on the other side of the table looking for
Yeah.
vendors too. But between the two, anything that you can suss out is like, you'd love to pass on to somebody maybe in the same boat?
Yeah. I think number one, you just have to enjoy the people that you work with. And I would say the things that I was hoping to learn after focusing solely on an agency, um, I've had some meaningful experiences with, right? Everything from supply chain, product development, getting things into retail stores, opening retail stores, all these new experiences for me. And the thing that is true regardless of selling service, creating a product, running a website, whatever, man, you got to enjoy the people that you're working with, or it's not going to be a fun venture or a worthwhile journey, you know? Um, and then outside of that, it turns out that empathy is the secret weapon in business. You know, the more empathic you can be, I think to your customers, the more successful you're going to be. And I, I I wish I would have had more empathy or greater empathy, skilled, leveled up on that in my agency life, because I think it would help tremendously in terms of positioning and selling, and even being able to find the right customers, right? Like understanding what you can service and being empathic to their needs, and being able to deliver on that, I think turns out is yeah, might be the secret weapon.
That's cool. I think it was the second maybe podcast that we did was all about empathy in marketing. So yeah, definitely it is a secret sauce in a way, and definitely can certainly help in a lot of situations. But wow, you touched on like, having a great team, great people, being surrounded by good people. Oh man,
Hmm.
I couldn't agree that more. That's like, it's seriously, it's like the key to success. And like, even in times that are bad, you're surrounded by,
Yeah.
great people that
Hmm.
that make that even the bad experiences worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I know you mentioned just a little bit ago about,
Hmm.
being able to connect with talent, outside of the US. And it's interesting, because like, this field seems still like, and it's funny how, we may be, to some people say like, oh, we're 20, 25 years, 30, basically since like even Google started, theoretically, we had search marketers. But like, in your opinion, how do you spot talent? We've talked about efficiency in the field,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
that can, be, actually, I think you made a correlation to like engineers and something. Like
Yeah.
somebody who can just drill down and make it exactly
Hmm.
what it needs to be. But what is really, what do you think is talent within this field?
That's a great question. I really actually think that because search specifically, and digital media, I think in general, it's like solving a math problem with words, right? And and so some accounts, some industries are so mature and so prescribed that by the time the users get to the search engine to perform the search, they are searching enterprise rent a car, or they are searching car rental certain city, right? Maybe there's one or two other variations, but not many. Okay. That's a super mature industry in search and online. You take an emerging industry like crypto, right? Where there's only been a little bit of search history relative to the general population, right? So that language is going to look totally different. And so the people running those campaigns, they're going to have to be creative and plugged in to messaging and extrapolating different areas of search to go reach people to find value. And so that skill set is actually really different than running this enterprise rent a car machine, right? And then there's stuff that's sort of in between. And so what's so fascinating to me about that spread is we can still sort of quantify who's good at which one of these things, right? By elements like a monthly budget managed, total number of unique keywords or unique ad groups, or total number of unique audiences, right? And unique messaging inside of those audiences. And so we can quantify that, and we can actually put some evaluation to it, both in terms of benefit to the brand who's paying for this, and to the benefit of the expert running it.
Cool. I guess, and as we are talking about, like, like driving efficiency, or, maybe even hopefully a higher ROI, are there factors that you think make a good agency or contractor different from a great one?
Oh, so what separates the good from great?
Yeah.
Mm. I probably, man, I'm gonna sound like I'm mailing this in, but it's gonna be like empathy and communication, right? That is really going to be the difference, because while performance and winning sort of cure all, it still isn't the whole story,
Hmm.
And there's also always this knowledge gap between those performing and those consuming.
Hmm.
And so the talent to me separates itself in two different ways. One, in your total excellence of executing on this craft over here of managing this campaign. And then it's the ability to communicate what has happened and what the needs are for the next steps. And the ones who are really good at this over here tend to be great at extracting the resources necessary from the brand to create more success and to continue growth. Sometimes these over here on the left that are really good at engineering that excellence, they will tap out somewhere between that what the market pays and the least that you can pay,
Hmm.
right? And there's not necessarily that additionality opportunity that exists when you can get more resources to to change things like conversion rate, or go after different audiences via different channels, things like that.
Yeah. The thinking outside the box a little bit, or yeah.
Hmm.
Cool. This is maybe an interesting one, but uh, as this tool, is going to develop this like lens and
Hmm.
agencies, you're gonna, whether it's, tactics, clients, what data do you think ClickScore can produce in aggregate, or maybe as a whole, that might be able to be just helpful to the marketplace? Because it's, I think really interesting that obviously, as you get all of this kind of like, granular information from, campaigns as a whole, as you see, I don't want to chalk it up to like, oh, you're going to see through the matrix, like the bigger picture, but in
Right.
a way you get to, on a better, more granular level, understand how people are maybe even making these changes, and what are the scope of those changes, and what does that
Hmm.
mean in a variety of industries or price points. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, what do you think this could do, that kind of data could do for the marketplace?
That's interesting. Um, I, we really haven't thought or talked about that in great detail. Um, I think that most brands, most even agencies with that brand relationship, for good reason, we're sort of myopic,
Hmm.
right? And so our problems are the only ones that matter, and for all we know, the only ones that exist. So I think that the way it probably impacts the market is if ClickScore can take that information and build a better product to service these two. I think that's probably where it matters the most um, to the brands themselves, right? Is like, how much do I really care about um, what is going on elsewhere? Maybe to some extent, but I think that gets old very quickly, right? And you spend maybe 1 month out of the year discussing your competitors. You spend 12 months out of the year discussing your performance,
Yeah.
Right, your performance in the future. So I think that's the way that we generally view it and talk about it internally, is like, okay, if we can learn from things in an aggregate, is it valuable? How do we then translate that into a better product and experience for our customers?
Cool. It's kind of like the reinvestment of that data payoff
Yeah,
and into making
yeah,
the product better. And that is cool because, like, you think of like, can you monitor success through kind of seeing like, okay, this many changes that occur
hmm
for this type of budget type usually end up
hmm
yielding this much success or whatever, this, type
right,
of efficiency in the campaign. But I guess,
right,
times until you see that data as a whole, you don't know exactly what to or how to, leverage it.
yeah,
But I'm sure there could be fascinating things maybe in the future to come of it.
yeah, definitely. It's interesting because I, I think most people who run a digital media campaign, while there is certainly similarities, there's more differences than anything else. Um, so who knows? But I look forward to the opportunity to try to figure that out.
Cool. Okay, last question here for you.
Yeah.
What are your hopes and dreams for what this product might do for your clients, for you, for anything,
If I could just get people to use it and pay me to use it, man, I feel like that would exceed any hopes and dreams that I have. That would be it. I
Yeah.
I, I probably would just call it a day after that.
Yeah, definitely. It's neat. I feel like, your goal with this, it's not like, oh, I'm going to create another SEO tool where I need, people to,
Yeah.
check out analytics. You refer to it as a meritocracy or creating a meritocracy amongst, all these agencies and certainly among, the clients that are going to be looking at that, helping it, level the playing field a little more, giving a window in so that it doesn't seem like such a black box and like, hey, there is a way to actually assess, is somebody a good agency? Are they a bad agency? Then they can drill down to maybe the
hmm
factors of, do I get along with them? Like, is this
hmm
person that I kind of, actually vibe with to say, yeah, I do want to
Sure.
run, campaigns with them. Now, granted,
hmm
it could just be down to the brass tacks of what you said. You deal with that mechanic who maybe it's really tough talking to that person, but
Right.
he's going to deliver that car back in great shape. But I do think it's neat, the product you're creating, and I do think I think it has a really great chance of like impacting the market in a positive way, of if only to challenge more people to derive
Right.
that value for their clients too,
Yeah.
because if they do that, eventually they will get bumped up, and that can lead to more and more business for those agencies. So
Yeah. We hope if nothing else, it just becomes an easy communication tool between those existing partners and those responsible for the budget, those signing the checks.
mhm.
If nothing else, I think it can help create that simple communication, remove some of the barrier of the knowledge gap, and provide a common language for the two parties.
That's awesome. All right, well, Derek, that's it. That's all I got for you. But
Thanks, man.
I
What a good
greatly,
time.
yeah, thank you for being
Oh,
here.
man.
Yeah,
My pleasure.
yeah, this was a lot of fun. Well, this has been another episode of Mix and Matchbox. I'm your host, Brent Feldman. Thank you very much, and we'll be back with more content.